Hello everybody, welcome to what might be the final video of here Friday. This is going to be about Incursions, Saga Incursions guide. A lot of people have been asking about this. It has taken a bit of time to get this together because I've been busy with things. But we're going to go over, we've got a spreadsheet, which is good. If you're just going to go to that, just at least leave a like on the video. That'd be very much appreciated. And of course, listen as well as we go over some of the aspects. There's going to be tabs at the bottom that are going to separate into different sections where we're going to break things down. First of all, part one is going to be about who I used and my bishop setup, and then part two is tips and tricks, and the final part is going to be options, generic, just general, and also other pairings and things to think about, because it's not as easy as saying use all these champions. I'm effectively going to say use some of these champions, but it goes a bit more because you have to think about how you're pairing things off. So yeah, let's get into the video. So part one, who did I use? You can see the champions on screen right now. I used Bishop, I used Shuri, and I used Man-Thing. Man-Thing did not have a relic, and that's just because I wanted to just throw him in and I should have really used a relic with that champion, but it didn't really mean any kind of like issues for me. From a particular perspective of what I used and how I paired up with Bishop, and I will throw some footage on screen from my escapades. There were really some key fundamentals of what worked and what didn't. For those that know the champion of Bishop, if you swipe back and go into a block, you're able to get yourself a regeneration, as well as when you do a well-timed block, you're able to get a passive. Well-timed block. No, when you do a well-timed block, you're able to get prowess. Sorry, wrong thing that I wanted to mention there. Anyway, that's good, right? Always having a regeneration buff, having on is great. That can interact with buff cornucopia. That can interact with the main thing that I set the champion up for, pain and gain. What's pain and gain, Rich? It's right here. Pain and gain. Regeneration effects gain 10% potency each time a personal regeneration effect is gained. The attacker gains a permanent passive fury, increasing their damage by 10% of their base attack, max stacks of 10. I keep using fundamental, but the main thing about this was go into each fight, swipe back, or do well-timed block, get prowess, go back, get the regeneration popping off, then well-timed blocks, build up more prowess. Yes, you sacrifice your prowess to get regeneration. Build up to about 40. Parry and SP2, and you should absolutely decimate the enemy, which is great because you can end prowess persistently. I get my words all mixed up here. Persistently take those 2 bars of SP and do that right off the bat on the next fight. So that ramp is very easy to do. Gain the 10 fury passives, go and do the well-timed blocks, go and build the prowess, fire off the big SP2s, take that to the next fight, and repetition. That's why I built the champion around here. Unfortunately, there were a few things I wasn't able to get, and in a perfect world, I'd love to get something with buff cornucopia on top of here. I'd love to get attack surge buff, or well, I think it's like what is it called? Something like attribute, no, attack surge unique buff count. I know that because we're going to be going over to here and talking about setup, because this is the old setup right here. I love this setup: buff cornucopia with attribute. Boost multiplier, all out effects, then attribute boost, critical damage, attack surge unique buff, attack surge buff count. These are ones, and also like attack boost specials and mediums. I love that. I love that combination. I was not able to get the full combination I wanted with this. Funnily enough, my combination that I had was this on screen. This is why I'm kind of like we'll go between different ones. And what I liked about pairing this up with Bishop is, first of all, the pain and gain. Pain and gain was kind of like the starting point, and then I can start building on top of that because we've got regeneration as part of the champion. And you don't have to go this route. I'm just explaining that this is what I did and worked for me. It may work for other people. It may not. So we had mutual assurance destruction, which is special attacks deal 20% more damage and regenerate 15% of the damage dealt. This regen cannot be exceed blah blah blah. Right? Basically, you do damage with a special attack, you get regeneration. It was a top up my health. It was like a life transfer. This allowed me to stay alive for longer. I'm doing damage, I'm staying alive for longer, and I'm recouping health. Right? I also decided with the champion that I used, I wanted to make them as stocky and be able to take damage. make them very tanky, sorry. So that's why I gave them physical resistance and I gave them an armor rating. It helped me going into the last couple of, and yes, it's rank 3 7 stars. I'm sure people go, yeah, but they're rank 3 7 stars. Yeah, well, you could use a 6 star at rank 5, you could use a 6 star at rank 4, and as long as you pick some of these things to make your well-timed blocks, your defensive elements of your champion stronger, then that's going to be really good, isn't it? Then I decided to add in something if a mistake happened, and the AI not being particularly great, Second Chance was helpful for that. It basically gave me a intercede where, you know, if anyone's familiar with that, is when it looks like you're going to be knocked out, it keeps you alive. There's also, I added attack enhancement special attack with bishop on throwing specials, might as well do more damage, and just attack enhancement medium because that was there for whatever reason. As well as one of the more important things to grab, hacks wise, effect reinforcement prowess. Prowess effects gain 50% potency. What does the champion have? Prowess. What can you do more damage with? Special attacks with prowess. It's a no-brainer. And anyway, that was the team that I decided to set up. Nothing really around, say, Man-Thing and Shuri. Shuri was just there to help through. And I could have added things like, hey, Shuri does shock. Well, what do you do with shock? Well, you enhance it. Again, think about these things of the champions you're taking in, your strongest champions to take in that indeed are within the Saga champions, and just think a little bit as to how you want to structure their enhancements, their hacks to make them stronger. Speak to their abilities. And I think a lot of the time it's best to choose what you think is good rather than me telling you. It's just, right, here's some options, but if you've got stronger options, I could just say, go and use Silk and it'd be fine. But I wanted to use other champions, so it's down to you who you want to use. Man-Thing has regeneration and as well poison, so I could have looked to amplify those particular effects. I did not. The same thing as we said with Shuri with it. It takes away from my normal go-to, which is draining degeneration, which is something we'll talk about in a minute. Quickly on to my top tips. Of course, you've got to use the Saga orientated champions. Go to filter, go to tags, go down to Saga champions, which is there, and you're able to put in any of these. And we're just going to like put in just 3 just randomly here. It'll get you locked with that Saga sector. Most of the time as you go through, you're going to face off against Kushala, or you're going to face off against Danny Moonstar. Look to counters that are going to be good for that, or just general ones that you like. If you don't get any of the hacks that you want, then reset. One thing that's a bonus is that every 5 minutes, you're able to reset what you get. Nope, there it is, draining degeneration. That is one of my favorites. We'll talk about some really decent champion pairings with this. It's a bit of a cheat code to this. But anyway, the usual things, put on boosts before you go in. Make sure that you have some units spare to get you through. If you've got any Legends crystals, open them up and pick Incursion revives. That's something I do recommend. And something new that I've added to here is that, first of all, watch out for very bad AI, which is very much possible. And the final thing is, before you're heading to get some champions healed up or revived, don't revive. Revive them with yes, revive them, but use units or use those revives first before going to these. It means that everybody's on like a slither of health, and you'll be able to maximize your health and healing by going here. So make sure to revive first before heading over to here to, get the most amount of health possible. Of course, the final tip is have fun with it. It's actually really fun, Incursion Saga's version. I like Incursions in general. This one's better because you get to choose your hacks, which let's talk about, and let's finish with part 3, which is options and pairing when it comes to getting the best champion options to take this on. Yeah, at the end of the day, choose what you think is going to be good from the options. I've put in Misty K's fantastic infographic, which looks at Provocateur and Secretary champions. So whatever is your strongest, go with from the Saga options. There are some really nice pairings. If you've seen my previous Saga video, and I have done, I do recommend like the draining degen anytime you're doing any kind of like power control, power drain and stuff like that. And there are some options that either have degeneration as part of their kit and you can enhance that, but those that are able to power control like Penny Parker, Infamous Doom, Vision, they're going to be really effective here. There's also other champions that have degen as part of their kit, like Mr. Sinister, like Destroyer, Shathra, and Count Nefaria. All of those will be able to interact with draining degeneration, because look, they do degeneration effects. And what can you do with degeneration effects, I hear you ask? That's right, you can add enhancements to that. And I've talked about, and this is why I've put generic options into this, is that you can pair things up. Like, if you're able to pick half the things, and yes, I do know Hercules and some of these champions are not in there, but I'm keeping this here for a general. These are general or generic options. Like, if you were to take the likes of Bishop and add some of these hacks right here, and the same thing when it comes to Infamous Iron Man. Like, you just need to get some like Proud Degen, Draining Degeneration, all that effects, debuff enhancement, degen enhancement. When these things have an availability to be used, you can maximize your damage just by simply doing a parry and heavy attack, and you're able to do just a load of degen, not worry so much, and the job is done. The same can be said about champions that have damaging debuffs. If they've got a damaging debuff like Bleed or Shock or Incinerate, then guess what? Go and use a hack that improves that. If they've got a buff, go and have something like Buff Cornucopia, Attack Surges. Also look to things like Tide of Combat. This is an ability where you do a non-damaging debuff like an Armor Break or something inconsequential, even like a parry, and you get a Fury buff. Once you have that in to have a Fury buff, you're then able to add things more. That triggers Buff Cornucopia. There's going to be champions that don't have a lot of buffs as part of their kit or are immune to it. Those ones will have to factor into non-damaging debuffs, meaning more power or more damage even, or things like Power Stings. If a champion's got Power Stings as part of their kit, then of course you can exploit that and add more to it. Who you pick and choose for whatever reason, whether or not it's having the team that I had, Man-Thing, which was able to nullify buffs. You've then got different options, like you could bring Silk in to do a lot of damage and interact with some of the buffs doing a high quantity of damage, whether or not it's through Fury, Fury passives, if it's, again, getting regeneration as part of the kit or adding it on. Just think about what you can add on, what the champion has at the base level, and expanding from there. I quite like the idea of Infamous Iron Man, Proud Degeneration, having the utility of Omega Sentinel with, countering miss. That can be handy against, Danny Moonstar, and I'd say having Incinerate immunity with Infamous Iron Man. I think he's got Incinerate immunity. And then we've got Mr. Sinister as well with Proud Degen and Draining Degen, and also amplifying Degen damage. You can see, and also the the persistency the character has. So there's a lot of options, a lot of availability right there. Yeah, I think you'll find this is a very straightforward type of incursions. I wish you well in the grind towards it and getting it done. And that's been the video. Those have been a three-parter. I'm going to be expanding it to community stuffs based on the community tab post I did earlier. So check out that. And see you in the next one. Cheers and bye-bye.